Awesome.
All
Let's see
right.
if this is working.
So if we are live, what's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here. I am joined today with Alex from Nuggets News. What's going on, man?
Not much, mate. It's a nice day in Australia, and it looks like everything's working on my end too. So we're going to take people's questions today and talk about the crypto winter.
Yes. So today, hold on. My chat, I think, is not working. Great. Yeah, I don't think the chat's working, guys. How do you even redo this? One sec.
I'll jump over to your channel.
Yeah, we have an issue because the connection. I think should we just I'm gonna disconnect. I'm gonna stop on my end and restart.
You all right?
Yeah, sorry guys.
I think chat's working on my end. Yeah, cool. Some saying winter is over and 3,200 was the bottom. We'll talk about that as well. Life size box. It always happens, doesn't it, K-Dub? Technical difficulties. Looks like the chat's working on your end.
It was, and then it stopped. Yeah.
There's people commenting, but is it just not coming up on screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's people still commenting in your chat box, that's all. Someone's wife's already buying them crypto clothes. I think a lot of people are giving out their Christmas gifts.
Are you still live on your end, by the way, while I do this?
Yeah, I'm just...
Oh, geez, I should be talking then. Yeah, sorry, guys. There's something, the chat is, it's not working right now, so I have to reopen it, and I see you guys in there, by the way. We're just trying to get it to open up here. So, got to pop the chat out. Should have just kept it going live, actually.
No harm done, mate. No harm done.
Okay.
So
yeah,
you're starting a new stream on your end now, are you?
Yeah, I'm gonna have one bogus stream and then one new stream. So, what are you gonna do?
Let me know when it kicks off.
Yeah, we're gonna start again. So.
But guys, make sure you get those questions ready. We want to take plenty of questions from everyone about the crypto winter or what they think's going on, what they're going to expect over Christmas and the New Year period, which can be light trading volume. So if the whales are going to push things around more than normal or not.
Okay, guys, I'm back. Sorry about that. Ignore my other video. It's a dud. Just don't even use it. I screwed up. There's there's a kid that likes to share the Wi-Fi and play a lot of Fortnite and uses up like all my Wi-Fi, so I have to switch to the other one. And so, hey, we're back. What's going on, guys? How's everybody doing in the chat today? Good to see everybody. Good to have Alex on the channel. Alex is from Nuggets News, Australia, and he has quite some experience in the space. In fact, one of the things that we wanted to talk about specifically, I wanted to talk about, was you're saying that you're seeing a lot of similarities kind of between these bear markets that we've had in the past and the one that we're going through sort of right now. And I was hoping that we could maybe get like a broader perspective on it, from someone who's been in the space.
Yeah, so I think the other day Reddit passed 1 million users for Bitcoin. And back in the day, I think in 13, 14, and 15, there was maybe 100,000, if that. So it was a lot like going to maybe a coin number 20 or 30, and they've got their subreddit, and there's a few people there that are really diehard fans of that coin, and then you've got the team and the developers. And other than that, there wasn't much going on. And that was a lot like what it was like on the Bitcoin subreddit and in the space back then. There was probably... Andreas was talking a lot about the technology. Believe it or not, Roger Ver was there championing Bitcoin.
Yeah, he was Roger Ver was Bitcoin Jesus back in the day. That was the nickname, right?
Yeah, and a lot of people did drop off and think that this was a failed experiment. So at the time, Bitcoin was still very much experimental. We didn't even know if this was going to work. And I think we've just come so far now. The genie's out of the bottle. We can't put it back in there. And I'm not sure what you're noticing, but I look around at some of the big YouTube channels and their viewership's down 90 or 95%. And they're the people that have thrown in the towel, and the people that are left are those that are still generally interested.
Well, what I don't understand is, like, we're going through a bear market, so we should just give up. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm new to this space as far as looking at, cycles and stuff like that. But if you look historically, pretty much with all types of different innovations, there's always that boom and that bust. The price kind of gets ahead of the tech, and then a lot of things fail because people start throwing money at things they don't understand. And then it usually picks back up again. I mean, that's what you've seen. I mean, let's talk about your experience, because you went through a multiple year bear market.
Yeah, so there's probably been, I think it's 8 corrections over 30% between about 90%. So that 90% one was brutal when it went from $30 down to $2, and people really thought that Bitcoin was a bubble when it had popped. But it was 2014 and 15 after the Mt. Gox stuff had happened and China were talking about cracking down on crypto. And people just thought, oh, well, governments aren't going to let this happen. If China are cracking down on it, that means, the US will crack down next and it's just never going to succeed. And I think all those fears are kind of behind us now. Or we know that even if Donald Trump says Bitcoin's illegal tomorrow, that there's still going to be plenty of adoption in other countries, or people would just use, VPNs and trade peer-to-peer, even if Coinbase has to shut down in the US. So I think we've just come so far now that the future has never been brighter, and it sounds silly that we've gone from 20K back to 3K, pretty brutal correction, and yet the future's never been brighter.
Well, in one hand, it's silly that we went from 20K down to 3K, but was it not silly that we went from 1K to 20K in the same amount of time? I mean, our bull run was actually more incredible percentage-wise than this pullback has been, but it just hurts a lot more because we're losing rather than gaining.
Yeah, exactly. And any time that something goes from 1,000 to 20,000, there's going to be a percentage of people that take profit. And is that the wrong thing to do? Is that people that are shorting at the moment that are going to make money? Again, people get really angry at people that are shorting, but you have to remember that all these people, they want to put all those profits back in somewhere near the bottom. So they're going to pretty aggressively push the price back up. And I think once it turns around, we can be at 5K pretty quickly. Maybe if we get an ETF rejection in February, that's another excuse to come back and retest the lows. So these are all the sort of scenarios
Do you even think that the US cares about the ETF anymore? I feel like you're prepared to be let down at this point. I think I'd be surprised if it did get approved almost at this point,
So would I, but do you think that that's the sentiment that would really get a downer on everyone that was kind of hanging in there? They've been through this year-long bear market, and then they get rejected on the ETF, and that was their last hope. And I think that would be the best time to buy if we're not retesting the lows, or even, who knows if we're at worse prices than now. But I just think that would be the opportunity of a lifetime when everyone has given up that was holding their hopes on this ETF.
The funny part, Alex, is I remember when it was at the all-time high, or even just around that, and it was so many people just being like, this isn't fair. I'm not getting paid fast enough. I can't invest quick enough. There's no way I'm going to be able to get enough of this. Like, I wish the price would just go down. And the price did go down. And, a lot of the same people are now upset that it went down, but now there's your discount. Somebody in the chat did also mention, though, that, a lot of new people have gotten into this for the first time. So this is a pretty new experience. So, for people that have been in it, like, you lost 90%, who cares? Well, some people put in a lot more than they could have afforded to lose. And, we can point fingers and laugh at them and whatever, but it happened. And, I hope that we learned from it, essentially.
Yeah, and I think everyone that goes through their first cycle has hopefully learned so much about not being greedy and taking profits and all that when we have the next bull run, whenever that comes. But you also have to say on the flip side, well, what if it just went up on a straight line? And investing is not that easy. And sometimes people expect that everyone is just going to make money. It's just going to always go higher. There's always going to be more people coming in paying higher prices. And that's just not how investing works. It goes in these cycles. And particularly because Bitcoin is so hard to say what's it worth, or any crypto, we get these big, you can call them bubbles if you want, but they tend to be temporary, and then they come back to earth, and then it takes off again.
Yeah, I mean, there's a simple reality, okay? By the way, I saw your live stream you did with BitLord. That was cool. You guys were, I'm not like a huge TA guy. I've always just been more fundamental sentiment, just kind of go off of emotions, sort of just listen to what people are saying. That kind of gives you a good idea. Yeah. But the one thing I could say, simply put, okay, why did we pull back from an all-time high? Well, because people stopped buying. Right? And what happens eventually? People will stop selling. There will reach a point, believe it or not, where the last man will be like, I'm not selling. This is too cheap. And we have no choice but to go the other way. But the question is, when that happens, we don't know. Some people think it's going to be tomorrow. In reality, it could be another 6 months to a year.
Yes.
You know?
And people that have done well in crypto have been here for a few years. And if you look at the weekly chart, it was like that. And it, as I say, we need it to be sustainable growth. So I'd love to go back to new all-time highs over the next 2 years. And then I honestly think we can get to 50,000 in the next few years, 100,000, maybe 5 years out from now. But the chart would look a lot more like that than just these huge run-ups and then people get crushed. I don't think that's good for anyone. And a lot of people have been wrecked and they're all telling their friends how they got scammed by this thing called Bitcoin. And that's not what we want. We really want a gradual incline, improvements in the technology, getting more people into the space and using Bitcoin, and just all really healthy.
Yeah, I saw an article today. It was right after I put my news out. I literally just missed the opportunity to talk about it. And now there's like Lightning Network connections in space or something like that for Bitcoin, where you don't even need internet.
Yeah,
or
I
something
think
like that.
Blockstream have been working on these satellites for a while now, and there's a couple of other projects that want to launch these cube satellites so that we don't have to rely on the internet providers as much. But yeah, interesting you say about the Lightning Network. So there's some friends of ours in Australia that have built a wallet, and they sent me it's only in alpha stage at the moment, but it's literally that easy to use. You just send some Bitcoin to an address and it sets up the channel for you in the background. So you have to have no technical knowledge. So they're going to move to beta pretty soon. And I'm sure you're going to see that in the headlines, because that'll be the world's first really friendly Lightning wallet. And that's going to be huge for adoption once people know that they can use Lightning.
Exactly. Because I was going to say, Alex, that's the thing. Like, it has to be easy to use, you know, because these nodes sometimes, even just some people setting up master nodes that have been in the space have difficulty running them, you know. So,
yeah. This wallet is literally just, hey, here's your Bitcoin Lightning address. Just deposit $100 to this address, and that's in your wallet. And then you can send or scan or whatever you want to do in the shop, and that's paying through the Lightning Network, so it's instant and just about free.
Yeah, it seems like they kind of progressed a lot faster than we thought. We were looking kind of a year to 2 years out, but the team really, I think it was just the bear market. I think people had no choice. It's like, you either got to focus on this tech or just get out.
Yeah.
What else are you going to do? You know, and I've seen the teams that are out there still working, and I commend that. And I think it's good because it is clearing the space, and it's making it a lot more credible. Yeah. And the people that are here because they want to be here.
I heard a really interesting analogy the other day, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it. That it was that Bitcoin is this, this powerful beast that's going along trying to grow in market cap, and all these other altcoins have become like barnacles on the big old wise whale trying to pull it down and live off it, I guess. And I thought that was a great analogy, and I think in the next bull run, hopefully there's going to be maybe 50 projects that shine really brightly, and they do their own thing, and they go off in, we speak about some of these Australian ones like Power Ledger in the renewable energy space. That really has nothing to do with the banks or Bitcoin. And I'd love to see these good projects go off in their own direction and do their own thing, so that Bitcoin can go off and do its own thing. Because at the moment, I just feel like there's thousands of, shitcoins, whatever you want to call them, that are all living off Bitcoin and being dragged up with it. And now they're all down 99%, and they've dragged Bitcoin down further than it maybe would have gone.
Well, it's a lot of places to put your money, whereas Bitcoin used to have a massive dominance. Now we have so many other opportunities. And even when you ask most people just straight up, realistically, well, why do you choose to invest in certain altcoins rather than Bitcoin? And I mean, it's like a 90% almost, maybe even higher unanimous answer. Well, I'll get better gains with these smaller coins. That's the logic.
Yeah.
But I think, like you were saying with the whole decoupling thing, I really, really think that's important because, for example, I'm not talking about the whole stocks taking a hit, but let's say some news comes out and Netflix gets hit for some reason, some real bad news comes out, right? Well, you're not going to see Tesla fall because Netflix fell, right? But whatever happens with Bitcoin, everything else just moves right with it. And I think that's a lot with the XRP community. They're really pushing to get all these trading pairs. You're seeing exchanges coming out with just XRP trading, and hopefully having these other options for liquidity will allow them to decouple, because I think without that, it's going to be difficult to grow.
100%. I completely agree with that. And some of these projects that are making good progress are like down below their ICO price. And then there's others out there that have actually done nothing, or even, ended up being scams, and they're down below their ICO price as well. And it just doesn't make any sense. And that's not how investing works once there's mature investors in this space that know how to look at the fundamentals and so on.
Yeah, I mean, hilariously, if you just hold a shitcoin long enough, eventually Bitcoin will pull it back up somewhat, and hopefully someone will buy your bag. I guess that's
That's
I
the
guess that's the strategy for some.
do
But
you believe in that? US tech stocks have been copping it pretty hard lately. Do you think that's is affecting sentiment at all towards crypto in the US or?
oh boy, in the U.S. I mean, I think people are kind of looking for alternatives. I think that there has been a little bit of an insurgence of newer people, especially in the US. I mean, I could just tell from my analytics, just looking at, my YouTube, I'm getting a lot of newer influx from it's actually Australia as well, and the US and UK, but it's a lot of newer people. So I don't know. I'm not sure I don't know what is drawing people now to crypto, because I know last year it was the price.
I think
Last year.
yeah, definitely last year was the price, but it's funny that all these people that got in maybe at the heights that are, their bags are feeling pretty heavy. If they're convincing friends and family to get in now, they get to get in, somewhere near the bottom floor, which is really interesting. When you're trying to convince friends and family to come in, and they're getting in at better prices. But yeah, I do wonder with things like the housing market in Australia, it's copping a bit of a beating in Sydney and Melbourne at the moment, and the stock market and the tech space. So just wondering if more and more people are sort of questioning what's going on, how does all this work, and then they start to watch some documentaries about money and the banks and the financial crisis, and they end up at Bitcoin.
Well, what I find right now is everyone's just asking, where the hell is the money going in general? I mean, if it's not in our stocks and it's not in our crypto, and real estate's all right now. I mean, it's pretty high from where it was, but it's not really blasting off. So it's kind of like, are we just in an overall like economic standstill? Are we kind of in a
Yeah, money doesn't die and go to money heaven is one of our sayings. So it's always on the sidelines looking for a home. All these investors want to invest in something, and it was interesting the other day when all the tech stocks fell and Bitcoin went up, because in the past it's been dragged down with those tech stocks.
Well, yeah. I mean, can I ask you, now that you're on the channel, I figure this would be a great opportunity. Why don't you let us know what's going on in Australia right now? Because I haven't really, I'm not going to lie, I haven't been keeping up with it. But from the way that I perceive it, I mean, is this kind of like 2018 for you guys, or 2008 for you guys, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, so back in 2008, you guys had the global financial crisis, which all stemmed from the housing market and a lot of those subprime loans where they're giving out big mortgages to people that couldn't afford them. And what's happened in Australia is that house prices have been going up for 55 years without a correction. I think it's the longest bull market in history. And the banks are doing a royal commission because they found out that their lending practices weren't really up to scratch, and they were giving people that couldn't afford it these huge mortgages. So the average house price in Sydney is over $1 million now, and about 900,000 in Melbourne. And people just can't afford it. And we see home ownership going down, but we see a lot of Chinese investors, and now it's coming out that there was a lot of money laundering. So everything looks like it was pretty falsely inflated, and all these investors that are making up a big percentage of the mortgages. So not people that want to live in their home, just people that are investing, or people that are taking out interest-only loans because they just want to buy a house and then sell it in a few years' time when it goes up. And now that's all coming undone, and house prices are going down 10 or 15% in the last few months. And it's funny. I've got a lot of friends that work in those housing markets, and one of them called me today and said, Nugget, this is a bloodbath, and he's always bullish on property, and he laughs at me with Bitcoin. And I said to him, I think housing's getting toppy last year, and he was sort of laughing at me, and he was shocked. He's saying, I'm going to these auctions, and there's no one even showing up, and they're actually really worried for the first time in a few years. Now in Tasmania, where I live, houses are still going up, and in Brisbane and other cities, it's still going okay in some places. But we don't know if this is going to be widespread or how bad the damage is. But that's, I think, getting a lot of people questioning how do the banks work? How does money work? And a lot of people coming to our channel now to find out about Bitcoin.
They're important questions, and definitely once you get into crypto, you enter crypto with a few questions and you leave with like 100 questions. Like, I swear, like crypto just changes your whole perspective on everything. You're like, geez, this whole thing was a lie. You know what I'm saying? And you realize how money really works. It's if we print it, it's counterfeiting. If they do it, it's what is their term? Quantitative easing, or what is it that they call it?
Quantitative easing. And Australia's one of the only countries that hasn't done that yet. So I definitely think that's going to happen. And to us, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, over here we just we just bail them out. So we're good. We're fine. We don't. guys, we can do this forever, right?
It is crazy, but you do wonder if the majority of people don't even know about the GFC or the banks, and they're just kind of walking through their everyday lives and like walking through the matrix, as we call it. But I think more and more people are going to sort of wake up to this stuff, and it's very bullish for crypto.
Yeah, like that T-shirt you see people wear. Matrix was a documentary now that everybody's, So, yeah, man, it's definitely insane. So, given your experience and what you've learned and what you've gone through, I mean, I don't know how it correlates to what you think with the housing thing, what's going on with that. But what do you think right now? I mean, I'm not asking for a prediction, but where do you see this going in your opinion?
With the housing
if
market?
things play, well, everything, housing market, crypto. I mean, are you seeing a shift happening?
I think in Australia we've had such a good run that it would be a real shock to people if we have a recession. But I think that would open up a lot of people's eyes to cryptocurrency. So I think it would be a good thing. But I don't want to be doom and gloom. I don't think there's going to be pitchforks in the streets and doomsday, as a few of the preppers like to suggest. But we never know. The world's never had this much debt, so it really is a bit of an experiment. We don't know how this all ends. So do you have any thoughts on all that stuff in the US? Are people kind of woke to this stuff? If you go to a crypto meetup, are there people talking about debt and the banks and
the it's getting better. There was a time right smack dab in the middle, right around consensus time, where that wasn't anything. We were only talking about which coin's going to pump, how early you're going to get in. You were surrounded by VCs that were just trying to get the best deal of the best deal.
Yeah.
Fast forward to, for example, World CryptoCon, which I went to like a month ago.
Yeah.
Yes. Then we are talking about that. So I feel like we've sort of flushed out that, kind of like scammy ICO price pumpers, and now we are talking about more of the real problems, like you said. How are we going to build this? How are we going to use it? How's it going to help people? Can we get the tech so that my grandmother can use it? Does she even care to use it? That's the questions that really get me excited. I could talk about adoption all day.
There were definitely meetups going on in Australia about what ICOs are going to pump, let alone not what projects are good, just which ones can we flip. Whereas we had a meetup the other day in Sydney that was talking about security tokens and regulation, and the questions we got from the audience were just unreal. Like, it just showed me that the space is maturing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like when you have people asking how to use my Ether wallets, that this is round 2 or 3 or 4, depending on how long you've been here.
Yeah.
So. But I love it, though. I love it, and one of the things that for a long time I held off the educational content on the channel, because I know you do a lot as well. But I used to do a lot of educational videos, how to set this up, how to transfer this and this. And then I kind of realized nobody was joining the space and nobody was watching any of my instructional videos, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of when I started doing a little bit more of the news, and we kind of went along, and then all of a sudden I started noticing this insurge of new people, and I was like, okay, this is cool. So now I'm getting excited to start helping people. We have the Crypto Zombies community. It's a Telegram chat. Some people think it's a paid group. It's not a paid group. I don't know like who started that rumor, but it's like literally always been free since I started it. So you guys can get involved and just talk crypto. So
and I think it's a great time of year if you're with family and friends over Christmas and New Year's Eve, and that sort of get them into crypto, and don't just tell them which coin they should buy. Tell them about why this is important and what's going on with the banks, and that's far more likely to get them to go down the rabbit hole. And in terms of price, I think we're a little bit at the mercy of the whales over Christmas and New Year's Eve, when there's not many people trading in at their computers, and we're right around those lows. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can smack prices down, and that the lower we can go, the quicker we can go. That makes it more likely that a bottom is formed, I think. But at the moment, we're probably so overdue for at least a bounce over Christmas and stuff, I think.
Well, actually, that was one of the reasons that Backed said that they pushed their Bitcoin product back. They said it was obviously for a few other reasons, but one of the things Kelly Loeffler, the CEO, also said was because people were kind of like not feeling this during the holidays. It's like sort of a bad time to release this product, out to everybody.
Yeah.
So
and you see the announcements have kind of died down for a lot of these projects, and everyone's gone into hibernation, into buildle mode, as they say. And I think once we come out of that bear market, it's almost going to be like, oh, here's our latest update. Here's what we've been working on, and the good news starts to compound.
Yeah, definitely, man. Absolutely. And there's going to be good news, but I want to kind of talk about some topics, because I know you're like a huge Ethereum guy, right? You got in Would you buy Ethereum at like $1 or something crazy like that? Or
About $6 was when
$6?
we picked up a lot, when everyone thought it was going to die after the DAO got hacked. Yeah.
That's crazy. So you've been in it. So what's your opinion on what's happened? I mean, what like since ICOs pretty much started becoming the use case for Ethereum, they were, you know, not to say that's what it was designed for.
Yeah. So
but
I remember in 2016, I thought if Ethereum ever goes to $100, that'd be awesome. And then it just went insane. We had that. ICOs were almost like the forced hodl, where everyone had to buy up ETH and hodl it and then send it in, and there was just, you know, not enough ETH out there to meet that demand, and it went parabolic over $1,000. So now I definitely think it's fair enough where the price is. You know, it's come back down to around $100. But I think what people are discounting is the need for ETH in future. So everyone's talking about security tokens at the moment, and there's still going to be ICOs as well, I believe, in the future, as well as STOs. But look at all the standards that are being programmed. You know, 721, I think it's 1140 and all these non-fungibles. And then in the security token world, we can say, hey, you can only sell this on to another KYC'd investor or another accredited investor through this platform. So all this innovation is happening on the Ethereum network. Some of these other platforms that are very interesting, and, you know, I own a few of them. They're showing promise, but I think it's all going to happen on Ethereum, all that public chain. So I think there's going to be a lot of demand for Ethereum from the STO world in the future.
Yeah, really. Even for running dApps on. I mean, I think Ethereum's like excellent for, you know, assets that you're just going to hold. For example, if you're going to tokenize a building, or like you said, ERC 721 collectibles, non-fungibles, I think. But as far as running an entire ecosystem on top of it right now, I mean, is that really possible? I mean, and then to get back on the topic of the use cases too, you were seeing a lot of these coins or these projects that came out, they used the ERC20s, then they migrated to the mainnet. So we were seeing a lot of activity with Ethereum wallets, but why were they active? Okay, the ICOs, but also we were transferring a lot of ERC20s, but now we're moving these to mainnets. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of getting less and less stress, I guess, which it's working better, but
yeah,
that's kind of not good either.
There's a lot of talk about moving Ethereum to Ethereum 1.0, which is going to be a few temporary fixes to scale it up to maybe 100 transactions per second. And if you're doing things like STO trading and share registries that are just ledgers, you know, it doesn't have to be millions of transactions per second. So I definitely think there's enough coming to keep it going for the time being until that real big upgrade comes along in the next sort of maybe year or two, moving to Ethereum 2.0, Serenity, and so on.
And what do you see the major use cases of it, though? Particularly, like just the same thing, world supercomputer, or do you think it
once it's fully scaled? Oh,
yeah.
Once it's fully scaled, I think you're going to be shocked. I think things like, it's already kind of happening where even privacy coins will just be sidechains of Ethereum, or EOS could be a sidechain of Ethereum. Now, that upsets a lot of holders, but it's not a bad thing. It's just interoperability, and EOS is going to have some great use cases. That's fine, but once we have sidechains and talking to Ethereum main chain and scaling in the thousands or millions of transactions per second, I think we really see those powerful apps start to get built. People can turn away from Facebook and all these centralized apps once it's there.
I mean, I think if they start just utilizing the sidechain technology and stuff like that, that should take care of a lot of scalability issues, as long as you could keep having chains be interoperable with themselves. That's kind of like my perspective on how I think a lot of these ecosystems could easily grow.
Yeah.
Without making it overly complicated.
And it's already happening. So a project like Funfair we interviewed the other day, and their online gambling model is already using sidechains, and it is already happening on the Ethereum network. You do all your thousands of games and clicks, and it's all happening through state channels. So it's similar to the Lightning network, and that's all hooked up to the Ethereum main chain. So that technology is actually there for a few projects already. It's not like it's 2 years away.
Mm-hmm. What is I know a big question in the chat. I've been kind of not ignoring it, but a few times. So what is your thoughts on XRP? I mean, I know you've seen it. I know in the beginning, Ripple was sort of like the bank coin. Don't touch it, right? You know, when I first started my channel, I didn't even know, you know, I watched YouTubers like you or other people. And, you know, and not to say that you were pushing this, but there was like this negative connotation sort of around it. Yeah. But I think recently people have sort of accepted what it's good at doing, which is, you know, remittances really fast. And yeah, I mean, you can't deny that they're making partnerships and they have products that work.
Yeah, I think you have to acknowledge that they're different beasts. So Stellar and XRP, they're really trying to do something that is not a cryptocurrency that's decentralized. And a lot of the cyberpunks that came out about this libertarian movement that were from the gold and silver background and sound money, it is definitely going against a lot of that initial movement where Bitcoin came out of. But if you believe that banks are going to use that ledger to transfer large amounts of money and then to hold XRP tokens in between, that's what you need to believe to think that XRP is going to go up in value. And if they can transfer, if I can send $1 million to you, but then you sell out and go back into US dollars, that doesn't, no one's hodling that token. So that's what I think. And if I had to own one,
I have to agree.
If I had to own one, I'd be far more bullish on Stellar Lumens. Believe it or not, I think they've sort of differentiated themselves a little bit more. And all these banks are experimenting with their own ledgers. And I don't think they're going to use and buy up the huge amounts of XRP that are in escrow. So I think it's still something like 60% of XRP are still escrowed.
I checked this morning. They said it was 55 billion that they own out of 99 billion. So that's more than half.
Yeah. So yeah, that's fine. If people think it's a good investment and they want to use it, and the banks catch on with it, then that would be when it goes up in price. So that's what you've got to believe to be an investor in those. But it does surprise me that something like that has got half the market cap or whatever it is of Ethereum or Bitcoin.
Yeah. So on a side note, we should have definitely been listening to Charlie Lee this whole time, huh? Have you seen like how that dude has batted 1,000 on pretty much every damn prediction he made last year between, SegWit doesn't have bugs. SegWit 2X is going to get canceled. There's going to be the flappening. There's not going to be the flippening. And even down to just the conversation he had with Roger Ver about the lightning nodes. You just said, he was like, we won't have 1,000 by the end of the year. And we do.
Charlie came to Australia and we had a meetup with him, and it was like 600 people in Sydney. It was awesome. And Charlie said, I sold all my Litecoin. I think he even mentioned somewhere around $20 was possible for Litecoin, and it literally got down to $21 the other day. And that was after he sold all his at like $400. So man, it's crazy. I think Litecoin's always going to act as that test bed. So they might implement privacy soon, and then it'll be the test bed for Bitcoin. So Litecoin is always going to sort of trade at some sort of peg to Bitcoin. Because a lot of people always say now, well, what's the point of Litecoin? But I just think it's part of that OG model, a lot like Dogecoin. Why does Dogecoin have value? It's all the OGs that give it value and use it.
Yeah, Dogecoin is probably like worse than the Federal Reserve. I mean, how many Doge is printed daily? Don't quote me on this, but I think it's like thousands of Doge every day is just mined on the market, or some astronomical number or something like that.
But when Bitcoin had $50 fees last year, Dogecoin was one of the best cryptos to use to transfer value.
Oh, I know.
So it is what it is.
It was funny when you talk about speculation. When I first got into crypto, I didn't even really have that correlation between market cap and price. A lot of people, they get in and they buy the cheapest coin, but they look at the dollar amount. They don't look at the supply. They don't really understand, So, XRP is 30 something cents right now, but in order for XRP to double, how many billions of dollars is that going to take versus a coin that's like, let's say 5 million or something?
It's probably one of the biggest mistakes that beginners still make to this day. It's looking for coins under $1 and saying, what if it just goes to $1? And they don't realize how huge the market cap would have to be for that to happen.
I did that when I first got in. I bought a whole bunch of Doge, and I told my girlfriend, I was like, oh my God, if Doge ever goes to $1, we'll be millionaires. But if you look at that, that's virtually impossible. Yeah. But I just wrote an article about that in the Blockchain Brief, which you actually feature your news in. So thank you. I appreciate those updates. Those are awesome, dude. And I put something in there about that with cryptocurrency to understand markets and the market cap versus the circulating supply versus the eventual supply. Because another thing too is you don't realize that these ICOs, these guys that got in at like these earlier pre-sales, because there's pre-sales for everything, they have schedules that are released. So like, you ever just watch a coin and all of a sudden it just kind of like out of nowhere, it's like, what happened? It's like, well, those guys probably got their coins released. There's
a project called CoinScan that shows you when large amounts are moving to exchanges, and it has predicted a few dumps. And Jeb McCaleb, who's the founder of Stellar, has a lot of Ripple, and they made him sign an agreement saying you can't sell more than $10,000 a day or something like that. But that's just a constant sell pressure from that those extra coins that aren't in the circulating supply yet, versus something like Bitcoin, which is about to, in 2020, every year the halving has had a huge rally the year before. So that's one of the most exciting things heading into 2019. The fact that in the headlines, you're going to see a lot of stuff about the Bitcoin supply being halved.
Yeah, no, historically speaking, I've never gone through one. I've never lived through one, but yeah, the charts, they pump. People get excited. And it was a pretty, when I used to get so frustrated with the Bitcoin adjustment and everything, because I always felt like everything about Bitcoin is so slow. It takes forever to send. It's like a roughly 2-week difficulty adjustment, and Bitcoin Cash, theirs is instantaneous, right? And you think that's better, but then you realize that it's kind of that like slowness about it that actually allows it to have that stability.
It's the hardest, toughest computer network in the world, and look at everyone that's had problems. Like even Ethereum has had big problems, and it's taken longer to do what they wanted to do. EOS is having huge problems with everything from RAM to governance. Cardano are behind on even launching their mainnet. Now, again, don't want to talk badly about all these projects because they're very exciting, but this stuff takes time, and it's no wonder that Bitcoin is so slow to upgrade, because once they do something, it's final for $100 billion that's at stake. They're not just going to be like, hey, we should try this. Oh, we should try privacy. And if it doesn't work, that $100 billion is gone. Like, very, very careful.
Yeah. No, exactly. I agree with you. 100%, man, definitely. But it is going to be interesting to see which coins do recover, which projects actually produce. I'm genuinely interested because 2017, that was the year of the white paper. 2018, I guess, was the year of the shakeout. I'm not even sure really what the hell happened this year. And, I think the only way moving forward is like you said, building, creating, providing value.
Product progress and team is like one of the things that we're trying to drill into people for 2019. You're going to really see who's got a good team and who's made progress and who has a working product. And if they don't have those things, you can't just keep promising your white paper or putting up partnerships. It's actually about who's going to use this in 2019.
Well, that was a big problem with the ICOs. There were so many dApps coming out. And I'm not pinpointing anyone in particular. Some of them are actually good and you can use them. You actually can. But some of them are just like, man, why are you making a dApp for something when we don't even have the fundamentals? We don't even have the infrastructure built out for something. Like what you're trying to build right now is not ready for blockchain. You know what I'm saying? Or blockchain's not ready for it. Excuse me. It's just not. It can't handle it. Or maybe blockchain doesn't actually need it to be used for everything, there might actually be some stuff that we should just keep centralized, we
had some guys on the channel yesterday from Brisbane who have just launched the first diploma in blockchain in Australia. And I think you can do it online from just about anywhere now, but that is literally what the course is about: when to use blockchain, what to use it for, and how to use it. Because there's no qualifications. The people that are experienced are cypherpunks on the internet. And then that's kind of like, here we are trying to employ people when you put your resume in and no one's got more than a year experience building dApps because they didn't exist 2 years ago. So,
right. Well, that's the hilarious thing when you see, on CNBC, it'll be like crypto expert. It's like, how are you an expert? We don't even know. We don't even know what's going on yet. This isn't even established. So I think no one's an expert in this space. Everybody always jokes about the not financial advice thing, but
the only people that I even consider anywhere near that are the developers, guys that have been coding for 20 years and that are familiar with the coding languages. But even look at the mistakes that they make when they're coding a smart contract, for example. It's just such bleeding edge stuff what we are witnessing at the moment. Yeah.
So Alex, if I had to ask you right now, not talking about top projects, because it's really easy to pick anything in the top 25, but are there any lower cap projects you're really interested in that you think are doing big things maybe that no one's talking about? Or
so Funfair, I think, is that one that's using a lot of the really good layer 2 technology and not being recognized yet. Believe it or not, SpankChain, which is that adult entertainment one, they're actually got some of the best technology in terms of their lightning channels and stuff to pay the actors. So it's that stuff like that which has funny names, or the projects that are a little bit boring, like Factom we covered last year. But now they've got heaps of people using them and they've got good technology, and all of a sudden people are going to forget about the name or if a project's boring. if everyone's buying the tokens because everyone's using it, then people are going to get pretty excited about these projects that aren't, the 100x videos that we see and all that. So.
Yeah, it's actually funny that you say that about Spank Chain, because you think about even just the internet and, what was one of the things that, was really the driver of the internet. People wanted to see stuff they never could see before, right? So now you can, do things with crypto in the industry that you couldn't do previously. So I think that we have to kind of give a shout out to those industries and what they do for the space. So,
and obviously I'm pretty excited about a few of the Australian projects like Power Ledger with the renewables. They just won their Necker Island challenge, Richard Branson's tech challenge.
Yep.
So Horizon State have just launched the first version of their voting app. I'm an advisor. I've got to disclose for AgriChain that's doing like the supply chain logistics for foods. And Bamboo is another one I'm advising, which is an app that rounds up your spare change. So if you buy coffee, it puts 30 cents into the Bitcoin portfolio. So that's going to be so easy to get people into crypto without having to sign up to exchanges and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. We have something over here. They do that called Keep the Change. It's the same thing with but they just do it with a savings account. I think that's cool with crypto. You could do like a buy the basket, like how they have the bundle on Coinbase, just sort of distributed into like the top coins or something like that. And then you just set it and forget it, come back in 5 years. Oh my goodness. Like,
I have friends that have the share version of that app and they put in their change all year and it tells them that their portfolio went down, and the shares aren't going anywhere. So I think crypto's a lot more exciting in terms of actually watching it go up or down, and over the long term, hopefully up a lot more than shares.
Do you invest in traditional stocks?
Yeah, so I really love options and volatility. I used to trade a lot of those products, and it was the perfect intro for crypto, trading volatility. So.
Yeah, I feel like I get too bored with the regular markets. I got so used to the crypto price swings, I don't think I'd be happy with like, I got 5% over at the end of the year, I don't know.
The thing with normal stocks is that you're a little fish. You have to realize that everyone else knows more than you, or they've got inside information about Apple's earnings. It was just so hard to have any sort of advantage being a stock.
Yeah, but you don't think in crypto people have inside information too? I mean, come on. I had a video that I put out the other day pretty much talking about the digital, currency group. And all their connections. I mean, if you look into these Coinbase listings, and Coinbase just happened to use USDC, which just happens to be an investment by, these guys into Circle.
That's a fascinating topic. I think Ethereum Classic is going to get massively pumped by CoinDesk, who owns Digital Currency Group, who bought up all the Ethereum Classic back in the day. They've been sitting on it for years, waiting for Ethereum to move to proof of stake so they can say, hey, we're the real Ethereum. So I think you're going to see a massive sort of conspiracy go down around Ethereum Classic. But you're right. There's heaps of insider trading, but I think as an everyday mum and dad investor, you can find good projects, whereas you're never going to find a project on the stock market that doesn't have 100 analysts looking at it and they're ahead of you.
Yeah. No, I hear you, man. I hear you. There's definitely a lot of projects, but it's been difficult for me because when I first started the channel, I used to get really pumped because I'm not a professional. I'm just a guy literally on the internet who just is a crypto enthusiast. And I used to get really passionate about a lot of different projects, but then you're on YouTube and then you start getting people like, hey man, remember you talked about that coin? Well, it's not really doing that well right now. And I bought that after I watched your video and, so now I'm very apprehensive to speak about projects, and I definitely just want to focus on just what they're doing and what they're building. And if you want to invest, you do what you want,
I completely agree. You probably noticed I was a bit hesitant to mention any specifics by name because of that reason, because people do say, hey, I bought this. You mentioned it in a video and hey, now it's down 90%. It's like, well, come on, guys. Everything's down 90%. We've got to wait and give it some time before we really judge these things. But you're right.
Well, the thing was all the YouTubers in 2017, which unfortunately I was not one of them. Any calls you were making, you were a genius. Oh, I love this guy, because everything was going up. So I could literally just throw a dart, say, oh yeah, invest in this coin. Okay, it might not pump 30%, but it'll probably pump 15 or 20. You'll still be happy.
But
right?
A lot of those YouTubers have already gone into hiding now.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Oh, Alex, we have something in the chat. Somebody wants to know, what was the name of the Lightning Network web wallet that you were talking about? What's it called?
It's not out yet. I'm not allowed to say the name of it yet either. But if you're following us on Twitter, I'll put out a tweet when you can download
it. So Gray Cooper says you got mad hype earlier. I thought you were going to kick off the bull run by yourself. Hey man, I just might. You never know. You never know. So, yeah, I'd love for the bull run to start, but at the same time, I'm not really in a rush. I think this is a great accumulation stage. I think this is a blessing in disguise for anyone getting in brand new and anybody that got wrecked and is still around.
Yeah.
You know,
and I definitely,
sucks.
People are very much wised up about not FOMOing in now and learning to trade or dollar cost averaging, whatever you want to learn about and suit yourself. So it's important to have these crypto winters so that you've got your game plan when we have the next bull run.
Exactly. It makes you a lot smarter, definitely. I'm interested though, because I'm interested in seeing how we deal with it this next time around, like if we make those same mistakes again, or because, inevitably there's always a buyer and there's always a seller on either side.
Yeah.
So,
and you're not going to know the bottom was in. We could go to $6,000 in the next month, and everyone will still be so bearish, and people be saying, we're going to go back down to 1,000, and so on. So it's only months and months later, in hindsight, that we'll know if that was the bottom. But interesting times ahead, mate. I've thoroughly enjoyed the conversation today.
Yeah, definitely, man. I appreciate it. Anytime you want to come on the channel, I really appreciate it. So I don't know. Does the chat have any questions, guys? Anything you guys want to ask before we head on out of here and call it a night? By the way, guys, I really appreciate everybody that came out. Great conversation, great comments. Thank you, guys.
Someone's saying that none of the YouTubers are talking about the Fed rate hike tomorrow, and that is going to be interesting because
the what?
The Fed, whether they're going to raise interest rates again tomorrow. So if they do that, stock markets have been really having a tantrum and saying they don't want the Fed to raise rates. And if they raise rates tomorrow, raise interest rates, again, it puts more pressure on everyone with debt, with a mortgage, and it's going to probably make stocks go a lot lower. So it's going to be interesting to see. So that's a good question, Imran.
Somebody asks Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin. I go with Bitcoin personally. That's just me. Sorry, guys. I like Bitcoin better.
I think
I've never even bought it. I only got whatever came to me in the fork, and I just sold it. So
I think you've got to respect the Bitcoin Cash people that if they believe they're doing the right thing, but what they did by having this fighting and separation, I really think it's permanently damaged their sort of brand and any claim.
Yeah. It really did. I mean, it was almost like you were just getting to that point where you were able to forgive it all. You were just getting okay with the fact we're okay, we can live in harmony. There's a Bitcoin Cash. There's a Bitcoin. They have their preferences. We're fine. We can shake hands while we pass. And then they forked again. And at that point, you just can't take anything with the cash associated to Bitcoin seriously. I mean, you might as well just rebrand into a new coin. Why are you still using the same name?
Yeah.
So
yeah. There's some good people out there, but
my opinion on Icon, I still really like Icon, guys. I don't think the price has anything to do with what these guys are doing. They're one of the hardest working teams. Yeah, so I still like Icon very much so. Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome.
Well, let's wrap it up there, mate. It's been fantastic, but we've all got plenty of work to do. I know you're busy.
Yeah, busy and starting to get a little hungry. So it's 9 o'clock at night over here. I haven't had dinner yet. So.
Oh wow. Well, I've been
going since 6, bro. I get up so early to do the news, and it's I don't think people really understand, because they just see okay, I'm doing a live stream or I'm doing a video. Dude, I eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff. I mean, I am the biggest crypto fanatic ever, and it's fun. Honestly, I wouldn't want to do anything else. Seriously.
It's addictive and it's a deep rabbit hole.
Absolutely. So thank you so much, guys.
Thanks,
everyone,
guys.
If you want, I have your link in the description for Alex if you guys want to go follow him. Really cool channel, very informative, a lot of education.
And I'll link to your YouTube and Twitter as well in the description below.
Great. Sounds good, guys. So that being said, I really appreciate it. My name's K-Dub. This is Crypto Zombie. Till next time, stay crypto and peace out.
See you guys.
Thanks, guys.